We are recording. Uh, Welcome to the evening of Python coding. Um, Today we have Chris Leonard. He will talk about Flake 8. Um, Chris, without much ado, please take over. And Matthew, please mute your camera or sound because you're taking over. Thank you. Chris, go ahead.
Give me just a second.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Chris Leonard. I've been a developer of some sort for 20 years. My background is a deep web background, so PHP and Ruby. I came to Python about 3 years. Actually, it was Michael Verholst, who's on this call, who was talking earlier, that I met in person and talked me through the beginnings of how to get into learning Python. I was a tech co-founder of a startup working with linguistic algorithms, so I switched to Python for that work. And one of the things I realized very early on was that as a PHP and Ruby developer, I never really learned those languages really deeply. So in Ruby, I was quite good at building Rails apps, but didn't really deeply know the language, and I decided I really wanted to learn Python. I felt like it was appropriate for the work I was doing. Very powerful language, you can do a lot of stuff with it, a lot of things you couldn't do in Ruby. And I would go to random repos on GitHub and look at the requirements or the dependencies and just learned about packages that way. And one of the ones that kept popping up was Flake 8. And so in investigating that package, I learned about linting code. And what does that mean? For anybody who doesn't know, Python actually has a style guide on how to write properly formatted Python. I got and there's a lot of things that fix in this repo. So this is a style guide for Python. Lots of people ignore this stuff. You see Python code all the time, especially a lot of data science code does not adhere to this. And in fact, even in the Python source code, there are modules implemented in Python that are wildly divergent from Python's own style guide. Tabs are spaces, maximum line length, how many spaces between objects. All this stuff is in the style guide. And Flake 8 is one of many linting tools that allows you to see the degree to which your code conforms to the style guide.
Tell them what linting means.
Linting is the process of running software against your code to see if it conforms to the style guide or not. It's very flexible. You can choose to ignore certain things. You can customize it, and I'll show you all of that. So you may or may not be the kind of OCD person who cares whether your code is perfectly formatted or not. One of the most important things I found about linting and adhering to the style guide is it taught me at a deeper level how Python works and how Python wants you to write your code. Your code benefits from writing in a Pythonic manner. And the guide rails of linting helped me learn Python a lot more deeply than I had other languages in the past. So what I've done here is I'm going to switch to my local copy of this repo. The secret module in Python, this isn't really all that important. It does things like this, create like little tokens and secret strings, like if you have to set the secret key in Django or Flask, you can use this. And it creates a secure token for you. I chose this module from the source code because it's fairly short and it has several errors in it, ways that it deviates from the style guide that we will look at. So it's not very long. Flake 8 can be run in a number of ways. If you run it in the root project, it looks at every Python file in that project. Or you can, if you want to work on a specific file, at just that file. So I'm going to choose to do the whole thing again. Let's look at what it's telling us. So it says that there's a line too long. It says that the OS has been imported but unused. The Python style guide says that module level functions and class definitions should have two blank lines around them. So you see that's being quote violated several times. Another line too long, another OS, and another line too long. So this is only a few of the errors you can find. There's lots of them. It will detect syntax errors, pretty much anything that you define and don't use. So if you, not function so much, but if you declare a variable and don't ever use it, it'll flag that for you. So it's good at cleaning up stuff that maybe you were developing and wound up abandoning or just never used. Now, you can also ignore certain rules, and I want to take a look at that before we fix this file. I've got a couple of examples of how to do that. Each of these errors has a code. So line too long is E501. So what I can do is break 8, ignore E501. It simply won't print out those errors if the lines are too long. You can also put that kind of stuff in
You sound muffled. Chris, we can't hear you. Your microphone disconnected or something. Okay, we'll wait for him.
I don't know, it muted me for some reason.
Okay, now it's okay. Now we can hear you. Come back.
It automatically muted me for some reason. So in this flake 8 file, if I put ignore F401, it will ignore that error for the entire project. So you don't see the OS was imported and unused. Let's go ahead and grab these other examples. So I can exclude the test directory. You'll notice that these two lines are coming from the test directory. Maybe you don't really care about the formatting of your tests. You just want to check that you've got good coverage and that your tests are passing. So I can go into tests. And it will no longer pick up those errors. So it's if there are certain things that are meaningful to you, like the screen, but you don't really care about your comments, or you don't care about long lines. Another example, so the PEP 8, the style guide, recommends 79 characters as the maximum line width. The Django project says that it should be 119. So this should take care of at least one of those errors. Oh, that one's still a little bit too long. So you can change these defaults. So if Flake 8 wants you to do 79, the style guide wants you to do 79, you can change that to 119. So I'm going to leave tests excluded. I'm going to leave that line length the way it is, and let's take a look at this file. So this is the line that's too long. I think everybody here probably knows how to fix that. And that line goes away. There's another way to get rid of a specific error. But let's say that this OS is actually there for a reason. I know if anybody remembers what this is, please say what it is. It wants to enforce that all your imports are at the top of the file, but either Flask or Django has an example of a config file that imports something at the end of the file to avoid a circular import. So if you wanted to ignore something like that on a per instance basis, do that, no quality assurance in the code, and that goes away. In this case, I'm going to delete it because you don't need it. What's the next? At least 2 spaces before an inline comment. The style guide says that this should be 2 spaces. If you're doing an inline comment after a line, that it should be 2 spaces before you start the comment. That makes that go away. The 2 lines, all of these methods should have 2 lines after them, before and after them. Again, you can ignore any of the stuff that you want to, you can customize it to whatever your workflow is. And now everything is cleaned up. So that's basically what it does. It helps you adhere to the style guide if you choose to. You can customize it to how much you would like to conform to the style guide. If there's something that you think is ridiculous, you can configure your project to ignore that or to change the default. I find this very useful. Again, this helped me really kind of understand how Python benefits from writing in a Pythonic way. But I know a lot of people who don't use this stuff and might be interested, which is why I chose to present it. Jacob asked me to only present one project, so I'm not going to show the other one. There's another project that is used alongside of this called Black. If you're interested in this sort of thing, I suggest you check that out. It actually, in a very opinionated manner, reformats your code for you. A lot of professionally maintained Python packages use it to make their code look pretty. And the 2 of these used together is pretty powerful if you care about the formatting of your code. And that's pretty much all I have.
Okay. Any questions?
Mike, did I leave anything out?
I was just gonna, this is Eric, I was just gonna say one thing, in addition to Black, combining with iSort.
Oh yes, that's a good one, iSort. So the style guide wants you to order your imports in a certain way, and iSort will fix these. So you're supposed to do built-in Python stuff first with the direct imports first, and then from package or module import X should come second. Then third-party stuff like requests or PyTorch, and then your own internal modules and packages that you're importing. And they're supposed to be in alphabetical order, and that iSort package will do that for you. It just helps with legibility and being able to scan a long list of imports and know what you're looking for. Thanks for pointing that out.
I have a question. Are there any differences in style between Python 2 and 3 or something like this? Or something that Fleckate behaves differently on different versions of Python?
I don't know that answer because when Mike and I met 3 years ago, he told me to ignore Python 2 and use Python 3. That debate would eventually be settled and I would be on the right side.
Yeah, yeah.
There's still like 3 nerds crying somewhere over like a print or something. But no, I ignored Python 2, so I don't know the answer.
Yeah, Michael was right there. Any more questions? Suggestions?
I'm curious if anybody who is seeing this for the first time thinks it's interesting, or kind of like, why do I care? Especially if you're doing data science work where it's not really, you're not publishing your code or selling it. I'm just curious what people think. I think it's a neat tool. I could be weird.
As a beginner, I think it's really cool. I mean, it'll help me, make sure I know the different things that I might miss in the PEP or whatever. I also want to note, Darcy in the chat says, can you talk about the differences or similarities with PyChecker?
I don't know PyChecker. When I found this one, I investigated a few other ones, and I've just always stuck with Fleckate. So I unfortunately, if anybody else can answer that question, please take the mic.
It seems... Anyone? Okay. It seems no one's answering. However, I do want to tell you that there are many linting tools. Some of them are already embedded in environments, such as, for example, if you install Spider, which is an editor or integrated development environment, it actually has several things, or PyCharm, or several other tools. They will have linting as part of the work that you're working on, and I'm not sure exactly which one they're using, whether it's Flake8 or something else, but they will show you if you make errors while you're writing the code. Now, this is very important even for beginners, to always maintain your code and make it clean out of those syntax errors. The reason is many times not only the style guide, but some of those tools actually check your code for you. Those make it much easier for you to actually eliminate errors. So do use tools like these, like Flake8 or any other linting tool, to make your code look better. It's not only look better, it's actually better because sometimes it catches errors. You do things inadvertently, and it will catch it for you.
Yeah,
Mike? Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. The other important aspect is if you're working collaboratively, if you're all using something like Black and it formats it the same way, then when you give changes and so on, they won't be about format.
Yeah.
Something.
Mike, do you know how to speak to the complexity stuff that it looks at? I understand that, but I can't articulate it.
No, I don't have a good understanding of that. What exactly? So
Can you show us?
This is the McCabe complexity.
Yeah.
Calculation. So what usually I think by default it's at 10. So if you have, for example, a very nested, if else, things like that, and it just sort of nests itself into several layers, it will calculate that you have exceeded that complexity calculation of 10, and will suggest that maybe you ought to create some methods that you would call within those conditional statements and things like that, instead of nesting everything inside the statement. So it's really about nesting and so on within a function or a method. And just making it too complex. So break it up into simple methods.
Yeah, I only got that error once, and it was because I was being lazy and ridiculous and wrote something that just shouldn't exist, and so I refactored it, and it's much better.
Exactly.
Okay.
Anything else in the chat?
Yeah, I would just say to Jacob's comment about PyCharm, so I use PyCharm, but I have configured it for Black and ISO, so that it will automatically, as I'm typing, just reformat things. And if I just import something automatically, it'll put it up on the top list and reallocate the top list. So those two external programs are in PyCharm under tools, external tools.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe you can actually hook these into a CI/CD workflow to stop you from committing bad code.
Yeah, like I do that using talks, so that gets run at the end of the talks, at the beginning of the talks run. So if your format, if there's something wrong with formatting, the run will stop. The build will stop.
Okay. Any other topics, or can we close the recording? We can continue talking about this after the recording as well, but anyone? Something important? Going once? Going twice.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, everyone thank Chris before we actually leave.
Thank you. That's very important.
Yeah, and I'm gonna stop the recording. Hang around. We're not going away. We're still here.